Once upon a time, deep in the heart of an ancient African village, a young girl named Amara stood at the edge of a vast savanna, gazing at the horizon, where the golden sun kissed the earth. Amara was not just any girl. She was born into a lineage of warriors, healers, and storytellers. Her roots ran deep, like the ancient baobab tree, in the village's center. Every elder spoke of the power of her ancestry, knowing her ancestors had fought against darkness and tyranny, their spirits woven into the fabric of the land she called home. But Amara had always wondered, could she live up to the greatness of her bloodline? Was she destined for more than the routine of daily life? One fateful evening, while wandering through the jungle to gather herbs, Amara stumbled upon an old woman draped in a cloak made of vines, her eyes glowing like the moon itself. The woman spoke in a voice like thunder. "Your roots are not only in the soil, young one. Your roots are within you. To fight and thrive, you must first learn to listen to the whispers of your ancestors, for they are the ones who will guide you." Amara, unsure but determined, knelt down to listen. She could feel the earth beneath her pulse, with energy, ancient and untamed. She closed her eyes and heard the voices of her ancestors, each one telling their own tale of triumph and struggle. She was given a vision. A great storm was coming, one that threatened not only her village, but the very spirit of the land. The choice was clear: fight, or let the storm consume everything. With newfound strength, Amara returned to her village, where she gathered the elders, the warriors, and the children, and told them what she had seen. They were skeptical at first, but Amara's words, laced with the wisdom of her ancestors, carried an undeniable truth. Together, they prepared for the storm. It was not just a battle of nature, but a fight for the soul of their people. The roots of their unity, their culture, and their resolve grew stronger. With every passing day, the storm came with the fury of the heavens, but Amara and her people stood firm, their hearts connected to the earth, their spirits guided by the ancestors. They fought not with weapons alone, but with the power of community, wisdom, and heritage. When the storm finally passed, the village was battered but not broken. The land had been scarred, but the roots of the people had thrived, growing even deeper, stronger, and more intertwined with the spirit of the earth. Amara stood at the edge of the savanna once more, the sun rising over the land she had fought to protect. She knew now that her roots were not just a legacy to honor, they were a living force within her, propelling her forward to fight and thrive, no matter what the future held. Her story was far from over. It was only the beginning. The dawn that followed the storm was brighter than any Amara had ever seen. The earth seemed to pulse with new life, and the village, though scarred, had been rejuvenated, but the victory was bittersweet. Though the storm had passed, there was a gnawing sense of unease in the air. The ancestors had whispered of a deeper challenge, one that no physical force could vanquish. Amara walked to the baobab tree, the heart of the village, where the elders often gathered. She could feel the ancient pulse beneath her feet, like the beating heart of the earth itself. Her mind was heavy with the weight of their last words. The true fight lies within the spirit. It was then that she understood. This was no ordinary battle. The storm had tested her people's strength, but it had also revealed cracks within their unity. The village, though strong, was fractured by fear, doubt, and old wounds. These were invisible scars that no warrior could heal with a sword. One evening, as Amara sat alone near the river, the old woman from the jungle appeared once more. Her eyes, glowing like the moon, were filled with a knowing sadness. "You have won the battle of survival, child," the woman said. "But you must now win the battle of the spirit, for a people divided cannot stand against the tyranny to come. Seek the fire of unity, and only then will you know true strength." Amara's heart sank. She knew the truth in the woman's words. Her people were wounded by years of division. Clans that had once fought side by side now held grudges. Families that had flourished in harmony now whispered of betrayal. The storm had only revealed the deeper fractures, and the unity they once had. seemed as fragile as the wind. Determined, Amara began to walk through the village, listening more carefully now, not just to the words of the elders, but to the voices of the young, the sick, the weary, and the outcasts. They each had stories of hurt, of division, of dreams unfulfilled. She realized that their suffering, though silent, had left a deep wound in the heart of the land. One day, as the cloud rose thick in the sky, Amara gathered the people in the village square, under the wide canopy of the baobab tree. The air was thick with anticipation. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down on her. But she stood tall, her spirit now fully intertwined with the strength of her ancestors. "Listen," Amara said, her voice carrying the power of the earth itself. "The storm has passed, but the true battle is before us. We must face our divisions and heal the wounds of our ancestors. Only when we are united, in spirit and in action, will we be ready for whatever challenges await us." There was silence, a tension in the air as the villagers absorbed her words. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, one by one, the elders and the younger ones, the warriors and the healers, began to share their own stories, the stories of old hurts, misunderstandings, and fears. Slowly, the weight of their collective pain began to lift, as the truth of their shared history surfaced. Amara had opened a door, and as the stories flowed, the wounds of the past began to heal. The villagers began to see one another not as enemies, but as brothers and sisters bound by a common history and a common future. They began to speak not just of their divisions, but of their shared strength. And so, Amara's village began to heal, not through battle or force, but through the power of truth, unity, and compassion. Amara understood now that the root of true strength lay not in fighting the storms outside, but in confronting the storms within. Only when the spirit of the people was strong, could they face the challenges ahead. But the old woman's warning still lingered in Amara's heart. There would be more challenges ahead, greater than anything the village had ever faced. The storm of division was over, but the winds of change were always on the horizon. Amara knew her journey was far from finished. The true fight had only just begun. This was her route, her fight, and her thrive. As the seasons turned, Amara's village flourished in a way it hadn't in years. The unity she had so hard to restore began to bloom like the first rains of the year, bringing new life to their lands. The once wary villagers now shared stories over fires, worked side by side in the fields, and sang songs that echoed through the night air. But deep within Amara's heart, she knew that this peace was fragile, and the winds of change were not yet finished with them. One day, a stranger arrived at the edge of the village, riding a black horse that glimmered in the afternoon sun. His presence was as commanding as a storm cloud, and his eyes, cold as the steel of his sword, seemed to pierce through the villager's soul. The villagers greeted him cautiously, sensing something unsettling in the air. He spoke little, but his voice carried the weight of authority. "I am Kofi, of the Iron Kingdom," he declared. "I come to see what treasures your land holds, and I claim them in the name of my king." Amara stepped forward, the strength of her ancestors rising within her. "This land is not for taking," she said, her voice steady. "It belongs to the people who live on it, who have tended to it for generations. We are not so easily swayed by threats." Kofi smirked, his eyes narrowing. "Your land is weak, girl. And so are your people. You are united now, yes, but you will fall apart as soon as the first real storm comes. The Iron Kingdom does not ask for permission. It takes what it wants." Amara felt a surge of fear, but quickly replaced it with calm resolve. She had faced storms before, physical ones, emotional ones, but this was different. Kofi's threat was not just against her people's survival. It was a challenge to their very spirit. She understood then that the true fight was not just for their land, but for their freedom to live as they chose. That night, as the village lay quiet under the starry sky, Amara walked alone to the baobab tree. The whispers of her ancestors filled the air once more. Their voices were clearer now, like a chorus that echoed through her soul. They spoke of a battle greater than any she had fought before. A battle for the heart of her people. "Fight, child, not with swords," one of the voices said, "but with wisdom, with the power of your roots. The strength of a tree lies not in its branches, but in the depth of its roots." The next morning, Amara gathered the villagers once more. She could feel the fear creeping through them again. The same fear that had once divided them. "We are not the Iron Kingdom," she began, her voice ringing with clarity. "We do not conquer. We do not plunder. Our strength is in the spirit of this land, in the hearts of our people. Our unity is not a weapon to be taken. It is a shield against those who seek to tear us apart." The villagers listened. Amara's words planted a seed, and the power of unity took root once again. The warriors, though fewer in number, stood taller. The healers gathered herbs and crafted potions not for battle, but for strengthening the spirit of the land. And the children, the future of their people, began to speak with pride of the strength they had inherited. Days passed, and Kofi grew impatient. His demands grew harsher, his threats more forceful. The villagers held their ground, refusing to give in. It seemed as though the storm was about to break again. Only this time, the villagers were ready.